whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Kōrero flowing out the hook of force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds, kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā kona whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira hira whakarongo pi kari kari mai. Hare hare mai, o Taringa hare hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody. Gather up close everybody. Kani move that body. Kani move that body.
Kia ora anō e te iwi. Doing the mihi as Snow sips on his aromatic coffee.
From Mexico.
Arriba. Welcome back to Taringa, brought to you by Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. And we're here in the studio of Te Ipurau, anei anō Maui mihi atu ana. Tēnā koutou.
Tēnā koutou.
And on the board today, well, we're back at Once Upon a Taima. But before we get into our Once Upon a Taima, we're going to tell everybody about our kiwaha.
The kiwaha.
Man, we've been mincing through the kiwaha. We've been getting through the kiwaha.
The hardest ones is to find the ones that we haven't done.
That's right. We've done a lot of kiwaha mihi I te tangata and some sort of, like that, praise people, and there's some sort of, there haven't been sort of like any kiwaha that sort of...
Nothing degrading.
Yeah. So you're going to learn one today. Just
to spice it up.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be language if you did it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I wouldn't say it's a swear word, but it's something you say when you might be a bit peeved off at somebody. Or so our kiwaha today is kaia te ahi.
Kaia te ahi.
Kaia te ahi. Which actually you can translate this one, means food of the fire.
Food of the fire.
And pretty much means that's all they're good for. Yeah, might as well chuck them in the fire. So it is actually a bit of a curse, bit of a kōwhete, bit of a... So be very careful when you're using it. And I suppose an expression in English that'd be the same as kaia te ahi would be, what do you think?
I think through different levels of severity, you can be like, tits on a ball. For a easy going, but there can be worse, Yeah.
Kai ako e tahi kōrero, he pai. So there you go, te iwi, so kaia te ahi, so... did you hear? Or Hone lost his wallet. No, Peter stole it. Kaia te ahi.
Kaia te ahi.
Yeah, or someone, you might be having a bit of a, well, not a road rage, but you're lining yourself up to get into that mean-ass parking spot at the mall.
Yeah.
Or at the shopping centre.
The one just after the handicap ones, the first public free one by the doors.
You're next to the, and you're lining yourself up, and then someone comes in and they just cut you off and go in there, and then you say, well, you might say under your breath or out loud, kaia te ahi.
Kaia te ahi.
And I got an auntie actually, and this is actually one of her favourites. And
yes?
Yeah, when I hear her say, man, she says it with, so she say, kaia te ahi.
From the pit of the belly.
And then another one, like kaia te ahi, is kaia te kuri.
Kaia te kuri.
Yeah, so you're only good to feed to my dog.
Yeah.
So there you go, e te iwi. That's te reo Māori. There's some, e koenei e tai kiwa, but as I said, be careful how you use them. And, sometimes they can be to yourself. You might stub your toe or something. Kaia te ahi. That's sort of like, plus or tau. We use another one too, is e poko.
E poko.
But, yep. Kaia te ahi, koe nā tātātou kiwaha mo tēnei wiki. Kiwaha. Now, we're going to just have a little bit of a kōrero. We'll answer one of the pātai that's come through our Facebook page. Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you for engaging. And there's lots of cool kōrero on there. And some of them aren't little pātai. They actually require episodes. So we thank you for that. And we can move some of those over to Tikanga 101 or kupu. But one that we can quickly discuss today is from, kaya koe e hoa.
Mr. Finn Ogle, or Finn Ogle.
Kia ora, Finn Ogle, or Finn Ogle. If you do hear this, please tell us how to
pronounce your name.
Your name.
The question he has is the pronunciation of diphthongs. Now, diphthongs are when two vowels are put together.
Yes.
Creating a different phonetic sound.
Right. So the pronunciation.
See, we're always learning.
The pronunciation of a diphthong, kia ora.
Pronunciation of a diphthong. So he has, how do you pronounce O? O-U in the word pounamu.
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 So you've got a mixture of O and U
Yes.
put together, which comes out U, pōnamu. Along with IE in the word wahie,
Yeah. Wahie.
wahie,
Kie.
kie, that's another one.
Yeah,
Good there,
that's another IE. Tiepa.
Tiepa.
I know the OU gets a lot of people, even people that are good speakers of Te Reo Māori, they get a bit lazy in how they pronounce kupu OU, and it comes out sounding AU. So popo comes out sounding popo.
Popo, yeah.
And momo is the other one, comes out sounding momo.
There could be nativisms too sometimes. Depending on the person,
Yeah.
you could allow it as a nativism.
So popo, that's how you'd pronounce the OU, and pōnamu. And yeah.
I.
Oh yeah, I is the other one.
I.
So wai as opposed to wai.
Why, yes. Very much
I
so.
don't know why.
Well, because you don't want to say I,
No.
because that means something else.
That's
well, you
right.
maybe Valentine's Day or your birthday. And where that may
I means to copulate.
copulate, yes.
And I means yes.
Yes.
You
So,
might say why you are copulating.
well, I. One might say I as they I.
But you have wai, which is leg or legs, and wai, which is to die something or to be submerged.
Submerge. Yes.
Yeah, so you have wai and wai. So those are the harder diphthongs to. Well, not say hard or difficult, but they take a bit more effort. And if you're not used to saying them, you'll defer usually to the AI because it's
AI,
easier to
yes.
say than the AE. So kia ora, Finn. I hope we've answered that question. So pōnamu, pōpō, and again the importance of the pronunciation or the correct pronunciation of kupu. You know, you'd say ngā mihi o te tauhou, not ngā mihi o te tauhou.
Yes.
Because ngā mihi o te tauhou is Happy New Year's, and ngā mihi o te tauhou is Happy New Bum.
Might be, you might be...
You might have a new bum.
You might be post-surgery.
Yeah, you got a butt job.
Yeah.
So you're happy about it.
Could be that,
So that's the difference. You know, it makes a big difference. You know, if you just and I've had it.
Yeah, you could.
And then you might get it around the other way. You might get the you might say tau and hau. So you do a double one.
Yeah.
So tau is bum and hau is wind. So you go hari tau hau.
Tau hau.
So you got a happy windy bum.
Happy windy. You might be acknowledging their flatulent.
Yeah. Sorry, Finn, we didn't mean to, but that's what can happen if you're not pronouncing the words properly. So there you go, e te iwi. Kia tika te whakahua. And we had a little episode on whakahua, but it's good to come back with the diphthongs. It can be a bit challenging for some people.
And as Praone has been a judge in matatini and kapahaka competitions, judges are very picky on pronunciation. Yes.
Yeah, it's big on pronunciation, particularly now that te reo is in there. But because as I said, it can just mean something, and it shows to me that the attention hasn't gone into the reo.
The detail of the reo.
So koe nā tātou tau kōrero mo te whakahua, or
Tēnā
particularly
koe, Finn.
diphthongs. Diphthongs. Kōrero. And ana, ko tā tātou kiwaha. Our kiwaha is Kaia Te Ahi. And we'll now launch into Once Upon a Taima. E te iwi o koutou taringa, ho mai. Once upon a Taima, the great Maui, the mischievous, cheeky, and curious Maui, stared into the flickering flames of the fire. He was hypnotized by the blaze, and as he stared even deeper, watching the embers, the glow from the fire upon his face showed his mother Taringa that he was deep in thought. He had already committed many great deeds, like slowing the sun, so they could enjoy longer days to fish, garden and hunt, and longer nights like this to relax by the fire before retiring for the night. The look that Maui had on his face bothered his mother.
Maui, he ahana, what are you thinking about? I know that look on your face. I saw it before you went to Slow Tamanui Te Rā, and when you went on that big fishing trip of yours with your brothers.
Maui heard his mother talking to him, but was not really listening. The sound of the fire crackling and the hissing of some of the damp wood he had just put onto the fire held him in its spell.
E titiro noa nei te ahi. I'm just looking into the fire.
His mother pressed him.
And I can see you're looking into the fire. Are you thinking of some different cooking methods?
E kao.
Nō reira, hea. Well, what then?
E whakaaro noa anau. I'm just thinking.
E whakaaro ana ki te aha. Thinking of what? Or should I say, thinking to do what? E mōhio anau ki a koe Maui. Kāre koe e whakaaro no iho. You don't just think, you do.
E rongo ana au I te pāmahana o te ahi nei. I can feel the warmth of the fire, and I'm wondering, where does it come from?
Ana, koia. I could see you looking into the ahi, and knew you had a burning whakaaro in there, bursting to come out.
Koia hoki. We have to look after the ahi, and make sure the embers we keep safe in the ahi kōmau do not get wet. I'm hoha. I want the power to make the fire.
Fire. Fire was kept by each whānau, and the village had a special place where the embers were kept smouldering in the ahi kōmau. They would be buried and would smoulder away for weeks, months even. But Maui wanted the knowledge of how to make fire.
Hei aha tai Maui, never mind yours. There's enough fires in the village, and the ahi kōmau is well looked after. E moi.
But what about Mahuika?
Hei aha mau, don't bother yourself thinking about Mahuika.
This wasn't enough for Maui. He needed to know. And sleeping was not going to help the burning desire to know that he had kindled within. And so, when everyone was asleep, he went through the village and put out all the fires. He even tipped water all over the ahi kōmau, so not one single ember was left. In the morning, the village awoke.
Hey, kua piroko katoa nāhi. All the fires have been extinguished. Even the ahi kōmau. Kua kewa.
Maui!
He aha.
Don't you he aha me, boy.
Engari.
Engari what? You thought by putting all the fires out, you would learn the secret of fire?
Well, yeah, I did actually.
Kai a koe mo te mahi tinihanga.
Mom!
Taringa knew there was no other way now. She had to tell Maui about his kuia, who held the secret of fire.
Ha tēnā, tirohia e koe te ura-uratanga ki tawhiti. Look, there in the distance, beyond the horizon, kei koraka tō kuia a Mahuika e no hoana. Your kuia Mahuika is the keeper of the fire. The rest of the village is too scared of her, so you have to go, as we need fire to live.
Ah, kāti. Kua haere aho. I'm off. I'll go see the kuia and sort us out.
E Maui, kia tūpato koe, you'll suffer the wrath of the old lady if you try any of your antics.
Come on, Mum. I'm Maui.
Maui gathered some light provisions together for his journey to see his kuia Mahuika. As he prepared, he thought of what he had heard from others in the village, that the old woman was not to be trifled with. However, he, the great Maui, had slowed the sun and caught a fish big enough to live on. So why should he be afraid of an old woman? Maui set off that day while Tamai Te Rā was still low in the sky.
He konei e whai?
Ai, kia hoki mai koe, ne? Don't forget what I said about your kuia, ne?
Yeah.
Eki, don't you yeah me?
Maui had more than enough to think about. What was he going to say to his kuia?
Hea aku kōrero ki aia.
What was he going to do?
Mea.
He walked on and on towards the glow where his kuia lived, and eventually arrived at the entrance of a cave where the glow emanated from. He could feel a warmth coming from within the cave. He walked carefully to the mouth of the ana.
Go away, Dana. Who is that creeping around out there?
Kua hau. Ko Maui.
Maui tiki a Taringa?
Ai.
Hea tō haere mai ki konei. What brings Maui the trickster here?
E kui, kua piro katoa ngā ahi o te kāinga. All of our fires have gone out, so I've come to ask if you can gift us some fire.
Nah, I would have thought one as smart as Maui Hangahangaro would have had the brains to look after the fires you had.
Tika tau e kui. We didn't keep the ahi komo burning, and it rained, so...
Whakamutu atu. Enough. Hara mai koe.
Maui entered the cave and was amazed at what he saw. He had tried to imagine what Mahuika looked like, and while the image of a wrinkled old lady with long grey hair fitted what he saw before him, the sight of 10 burning maikuku at the tips of the bony fingers of the kuia took his breath away and made his hairs on the back of his neck stand up.
Anei, Maui.
Mahuika plucked one of her flaming maikuku from her hand and placed it in some damp bark.
Manaki tia e Maui, look after it. Go straight home and rekindle the fires. Hoatu.
Maui left the cave of Mahuika, but the cunning Maui would not just go straight home. He had other plans. He walked a short distance to a stream he had passed and dropped the burning maikuku into the water. Maui returned to Mahuika.
E kui, as I was crossing the river, the matikuku got wet and...
Oh, katahira. And what, you're expecting me to give you another of my matikuku?
Mahuika, if we don't have fire, how are we expected to cook our kai and keep warm?
Ai, all right, tiri. Hoha no iho te whakarongo ki a koe. Anei anō tētahi.
Mahuika plucked another of her matikuku and gave it to Maui. Maui repeated what he had done before, dropping the burning matikuku into the stream and returned to Mahuika.
Hea hai nainai, what now?
Well, I made it across the stream, but when I got to the other side, there was a group of big, strong men. They stole the matikuku.
This went on and on and on. Every time, Maui dropped the burning matikuku into the stream and returned to Mahuika with a different story, until Mahuika had but only one of her precious burning matikuku. By now she was furious with anger. Angry at Maui, and angry that it had taken her this long until she realised she had been tricked.
Oh, kokohua koe Maui. If it's fire you want, then fire you shall have.
Oh, way! Bugger this, I'm off!
Maui fled the cave as Mahuika ripped her last matikuku from her hand to throw at Maui.
Anei tō kai e koe te kai a te ahi. Nā!
He ran like the wind, but the matikuku, aided by the rage of Mahuika, set the landscape ablaze into an inferno of hellfire, and it raced behind him like a great burning taniwha, hungry to consume him. He called on his godly powers, turning himself into a kahu so he could escape by flight. But the flames of the great conflagration reached up to the sky, scorching his feathers. So he turned himself into a fish and dove into a river. But the heat was so great the water began to boil. So Maui turned to Whaitiri mā takataka and Tāwhiri mā te, sending out his karakia, calling for the skies to storm and rain down a great deluge upon the land. After the rain stopped, what was left was a burnt, charred, steaming landscape. Maui walked through what had once been a forest, hoping to find a remnant of the fire from the matikuku of his kuia, Mahuika. And he found it, hidden in the wood of the kai kōmaku.
Well, Mum, I have the knowledge of fire.
Oh, te āhua nei, even though you nearly burnt us all in the process.
Hioia no ko ako. We just need 2 pieces of dry wood from the kai kōmaku tree to rub together. And we're away. Boom! Fire!
Koea kei a koe.
And that is the story of how Maui learnt the secret of fire. Maui! He never ceases to amaze me, that fella Maui.
Amazing. These should be movies, not like the movie that we know of now about Maui, but...
Which movie that we know of now? Who are you talking about?
From Moana.
Oh, okay.
Because they're our stories and
Yeah.
Once Taika is over his Marvel phase, he can come and shoot these movies if he wants.
I think the great thing about Maui, and I know just recently we were talking about the islands, you know, huge kōrero for Maui and Hawaii.
Yes.
And right through all of our Pacific whanaunga, through te moana nui a kiwa, our whakapapa connects us, our toto. But the other thing is the kōrero tuku iho. Maui is one of those heroes in i roto i nā kōrero that connects us.
Yeah, historical footprints,
as a Pacific people.
Yeah.
I find that amazing. The stories that we have, that we share.
The differences and the similarities. I have a nephew, and he's quite he's into Maui at the moment, you know, because of the movie. He's Tongan as well, and I said to him, your homework for this week, Sione, if you're listening, his homework for this week is to find out Maui and Tonga. And he's like, no, Maui's Māori. And I said, is he Māori?
Yeah.
Find out. Just so that he realises that they're of the same, or we all have a link, especially everyone in the Pacific.
Yeah.
But Maui has some great lessons.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of themes that we see socially, or things that recreate themselves when people are growing up in the life that they go through.
What do you think the moral of the story we just had, Maui and Mahuika?
Oh, the moral.
Or some maybe not this, maybe not
a
one.
few themes that come out of it.
Don't piss your grandmother off.
Don't piss your grandmother off. Yeah. Don't waste it.
There's some kaupapa in a kōrero tuku iho. I think that's one. Go e momo. You know, he goes through, he tricks his kuia. And my thing though is, how come it took you so long
to
work out that?
That's the other thing. It's so much like the characteristic of a person.
Yeah.
And Maui is, you know, the personification of it. But there's someone in your family that is able to tick your kuia off and is able to still go back.
Yeah, true.
And won't get a hiding. That's Maui. So if you're the youngest and you keep getting away with something.
Yeah. There you go, Eho. You've just unpacked it.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Tēnō
pai tēnā. He tika tēnā, he tika katoa tēnā.
Yeah.
I think too, you know, with the Maui, I think it's the treasure of fire, how important fire was to our people. And, you know, we've got lots of kōrero about fire. You know, even the word we use, kāinga, that means home. Kāinga means the place where your fire burns.
Aye.
Te ahi kāroa, keeping your home fires burning. You know, i roto i te ao Māori, there's lots of whakaro around fire, and there's lots of metaphors and whakatauki that we use in regards to te ahi. There's something in the story. Man, I take my hat off to the person that wrote that script. I mean, they're just so talented.
Oh.
But I have researched, not for this one, but I remember doing a little bit of research on, and I'm actually doing some at the moment.
Cool.
Around ahi and how we used it in our rituals and things, i ngā wā mua. And we used it heaps. You know, now probably the only time we see it is we use it for when we do a umu, a hangi. Te umu, so umu and ahi are tied together.
Yep.
One thing I found interesting was how we used to, I know we used the ahi kōmo in a tapu sense, but ahi kōmo too was referred to the long burning fire that you'd keep underneath the ground.
Aye.
And there were lots of methods to do, like they used to make this big cigar thing. I know in the story it's kōmako, but I think one might be kāpara.
Oh, okay.
One of the trees. It was the trunk of one half and another. And if you can imagine, they'd hollow out the middle and then stick them together and bind them. And then they'd stuff this big, huge cigar with mosses and dry grass
moss,
and things.
Yeah.
And the moss was sort of not fully dry.
Yep.
Maybe just a bit dry then damp. And they'd stuff it so it was full right up, bind it, and then they'd dig a hole. And they'd light a fire at the bottom of it. They'd put an ember at the bottom of this cigar, you can imagine. And then they'd bury the whole thing, put it in, you know, in this hole, and you'd have just the top sticking out. And sometimes have it in a mound, and they'd even put a roof over it. That would burn for months.
Wow.
So while they learnt to use the kai kōmako or the kōmako or the kahi kōmako to rub, you know, the rubbing sticks together, there was a central point where you could go and get the fire from. Yeah, and you just put a bit of dry grass in there into the, I forget what it's called. I think it is a form of ahi kōmo.
Yep.
Yeah, put that in there, and then you could, you know, take that bit of grass, give it a bit of, wave it around and it'll
Get a bit
flame up.
Yeah. I've heard certain accounts because our people were, if you didn't know this, is that they were nomadic, so and seasonal.
Yeah.
And so that place they could go back to there, and
Yep.
it's in reference to the ahi ka. So when you have claim to that area, that could have been one of the examples of it.
Yeah, and then in the wet months,
Yeah.
you know, when it was a bit harder to make fire,
Yep.
you know, they had receptacles that they could keep the embers in of particular woods, where they could keep the embers burning for a prolonged period of time if they were travelling on the road.
Wow. Yeah.
And you know, it'd be a bit difficult to, you know, start a fire in
Yeah.
the wet months. So they were pretty clever out
Clever,
tupuna.
man. Te ao Māori, science, e rua.
Koina hoki.
Same thing.
And then they used, you know, the coastal peoples would use like seal fat
Seal fat, yes.
and things like that for their torches and things. So, I think we take it for granted when, like, you know, just turn the light on.
I think so too, yeah. And such a resource to have in the history of man.
Yeah.
So it is without a doubt that that holds such a place in Te Ao Māori.
Aye.
The
And
history of
it definitely warms the kakos of your heart.
It does.
When when you do sit by a fire,
Yeah.
my kuia, she just used to stare into the
Yeah.
fire for hours, and I used to wonder what was going through her mind. Yeah, I like it when the whare's got an open fire.
Yeah, something about it, eh?
Yeah, there's something about fire.
Yeah.
It's a fire.
That's a fire. Fire.
Yeah. There's something. Yeah, I'm a bit of a pyrotechnic.
Yeah, same.
When I was little, you know, I
Yeah.
nearly burnt our house down.
Yeah,
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've got a man, Mahuika, go way back.
Yeah, we have a...
But yeah, te iwi, there's lots of kōrero out there about fire, and one of the whakatauki that I like, I'm going to share with everybody, and it's in the waiata o te wiki. Taku ahi tawhiti, taku mata kīporo, taku ahi tūtata, taku mata kikoha. Which means if I am at a distance from my fire, the point of my spear becomes blunt. But when I'm close to the fire, I can keep it hard and sharp. Which means if you're passionate about something, you need to remain close to it to nurture that passion. And that's the fire. The further away you get from it, you know, then the passion for it or your longing to do it or whatever dies. And the literal sense is, you know, in the old days, if you didn't have a fire, you couldn't harden your weapons or your spears.
Oh, true.
They'd use the heat of the fire to harden the tips of their weapons or their spears and things. Bringing that back to te ahi ka in terms of where you're from, if you don't go home enough, you forget how warm it is by that fire, this metaphorical fire. And when you've been sitting in the cold, you get used to it.
Yep.
And you forget how warm it is next to the fire. And it's not actually until you get back to the fire that you realise that you're actually cold.
That you're cold, yeah.
Yeah, and I use that expression for some in our hapu that have been gone from home for a while, and when they come home, they feel the warmth of the fire.
Yeah, so we have the ahi ka, and what do we call the ones that live abroad?
There's ahi ka and ahi tere tere.
Aye.
Ahi mahana was another term I've heard, or ahi tere tere. So those ones that come back sort of now and again, periodically.
So yeah, metaphorically, Prawn is referring to people that live away but come back often, whatever often may mean to you, and they get to reignite or add more flame to their travelling flame.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's ahi mātau, is that right?
Ahi mātau.
Yeah.
And that means your fire's...
Your fire's gone.
Your fire's gone now.
That could mean, I think it's 7 generations.
You'll know your ahi mātau when you go back to the pa and someone asks you who you are.
Yes.
And even though you might have been brought up there, you know, there's been a whole lot of generations now after you. And, you know, they may not mean to be, but it might sound rude. It might even hurt your feelings.
Yes.
That you're being, hey, who are you? You know, and it might not, we could apply that to some, you know, I'm ahi mātau in the gym at the moment. I was ahi tere tere a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, but I've gone back to ahi mātau.
But you're always allowed to return.
That's right.
In that style, you're always allowed to return to reignite that flame.
Yeah. So, koina e tai kōrero, and that was there. They look, even got a whakatauki that you can look up, but it's taku ahi tawhiti, taku mata kīporo, taku ahi tūtata, taku mata kikoha. There's a whole lot of kōrero around ahi I roto I te ao Māori.
Massive, yeah.
And I think that's good wrap up for our story for Maui and our introduction into te waiata o te wiki, tutungi a te hatete o te reo, composed by Pania Papa and Leon Blake. And it's about fire. Fire! That's not going to be our song, e te iwi. And it was from when they heard Timoti speak at a conference, and it was about te reo language conference. And he talked about this, the metaphoric starting of a fire in somebody and igniting their passion to learn te reo Māori. And again, talking about people, when you're in a group, you feel the fire.
Yep.
An expression we use in te panekiretanga is te rua ngārehu o te reo. So te rua ngārehu is the fireplace.
Fireplace, yeah.
And that draws people towards it.
Te koniahi.
Te koniahi. And there's another expression, is koniahi. Koniahi is one who likes to sit next to the fire.
Yes.
Doesn't want to get out of the warmth of the fire.
Yeah,
That's a nativism, that.
That's a nativism, yeah.
Koniahi. And the rua ngārehu talks about when te rua ngārehu o te reo is when you get a whole lot of te reo speakers together, all like-minded, and they're all on the kaupapa.
Yep.
So there's all sorts of ways, there's all sorts of cool kōrero. Sounds a bit like oxymoron, eh? Oxymoron saying cool and fire in the same...
It's a cool place to be.
You know what I mean.
The coolest place to be is by the fire.
Yeah. Hoi no, e mihi ana, anei te waiata o te wiki, tutungia te hatete o te reo.
Hea te hatete? What's hatete?
Hatete! Hatete is another word for fire.
Kia ora. So you listeners, write that one down.
Yeah, hatete is another word for ahi or fire. So you're going to hear a whole lot of kupu hou in this one, and we'll even post up the words to the... Actually, I'm moving and going back again. We're going to get into the song. But when Pakake first learnt the song,
yes,
he loves the song. He's one of his favourites, and we're a bit over it. When he first learnt it, and he went back and he was singing it, and one of his kaumātua heard... Oh, no, I think it was his wife, actually. And she said, hea te rā reo, haina mana e kōrero ana koe. Because he had a lot of words in there that no one, hadn't heard before. And actually, I used a couple of them in the Maui story.
Oh, but, cool.
Anyway, anei tātā te waiata. Tutungia te hatete o te reo. Ara ia e te iwi, te waiata o te wiki nei, tutungia te hatete o te reo. Tutungia te hatete o te reo. You actually got a lot of bonus kōrero this week along with the Once Upon a Taima.
As you can see, there are things that don't stand alone or they can't within Te Ao Māori.
What did you say on the last one?
They all hold hands.
They all hold hands. I like that.
Hold hands.
He pai tērā, okay, because I can see that. He whakaahua tērā. Here we are, and we're not holding hands, but, you know, e mihi ana maua kia koutou katoa. You know, if you fellas want to hold hands,
It's alright,
kia
no,
koutou.
2018.
Engari, e mihi ana kia koutou, ko māua tēnei, tēnā koutou.
Ki o, whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Kōrero flowing at the hooker force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds, kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā ko nā whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira hira. Whakarongo pi kari mai, hare mai. O Taringa hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody. Gather up close everybody. Kani move that body. Kani move that body.
Taringa. He mea tuku nā te wānanga o Aotearoa. To listen to more episodes, search for us on your podcast app and subscribe. Taringa. Whakarongo mai.